Alright, time for the solutions for the two-way frequency tables. On this one, you need to start by filling in the table here, using the information up here. So I already included the things that are in the paragraph up here in the table, and now you can get your marginal frequencies by getting your subtotals, and then get your grand total there. And you just add things up. So along the row here, you'll get 85. Along the next row, you'll get 60. Along this first column, you'll get 80, and along the next column, you'll get 65. And if you add this last row or the last column, you'll get 145. And that actually answers A. How many students were surveyed? That's 145. What's the joint relative frequency of speaking a foreign language and math average of less than 90? So this is less than 90, and speaking foreign language, that's this column, so that's the 10 spot there. And you need to divide by the grand total. On all these joint relative frequencies and the marginal relative frequencies, you're going to divide by the grand total every time. And so when you do that, see 10 divided by 145, you're going to get about 7%. Okay, so there's that one. There's that one. Okay, next one, joint relative frequency, not speaking foreign language, and math greater than 90%. So here's math 90, doesn't speak foreign language, that's the 15 there. So 15 divided by 145, and that should be about 50% more, which is going to be about 10%. There. D, joint relative frequency, math average greater than or equal to 90, speaking foreign language, that is this guy here. So above 90 speaks foreign language, yeah, that gives you the 70 there. So you gotta do 70 divided by 145. See, 70 divided by the 145 will give you 48%. Next one, math needs to be less than 90 and speaks foreign language less than 90. That's that guy. That's 10 again. And we already figured that out, so I'm not going to put it in the calculator again. It's just about 7%. And yes, that's supposed to be the same, just to show that those come out to be the same number. It doesn't matter if you switch the order of the language there. Okay, the next one we have marginal relative frequency for students with math average greater than or equal to 90. Well, that's this row here, and the total there is 85. On the marginal ones, you're taking the marginal amounts and dividing them by the total amount. So you got 85, and you got to divide by the 145, which is going to give you, I had to type that in, you're going to get about 59%. You need to round up on that one. Next one, marginal relative frequency, average less than 90, that's this guy. You gotta do the 60 and divide by the 145. And when you do that, alright, so let's see, apparently the video stopped in the middle of all my explanations, so I have no idea where it was, but I'm sure you'll work it out. These numbers come, you have to know what the givens stand for here, and I'll be explaining more on the next section there. But you'll get these numbers for these ones, so you can check your answers: 55%, 45%, 82%, 83%, 23%, 13%, 88%. But let me explain these last two again. So on O, are J and N the same? Well, that's no. And the reason is because so even though they're asking about the same one, like they're identifying the one that has 70 people with greater than 90% math average, and then speak a foreign language, but they have different givens. So on J, you're talking about of all the people who have a math grade of 90% or more, what percent speak a foreign language, and then the other one, you're saying out of all the people who speak a foreign language, what percent have greater than 90 or above in math for their average. And those are different questions. Okay, and then P, do the numbers suggest that math ability is correlated to language ability? The answer would be yes. Because, well, there's a couple reasons. Out of all those who speak a foreign language, 7/8 of them, 88% of them, have 90 or above in their average in math. And if you look at those who have 90 or above average in math, 70 out of the 85 have speak a foreign language. And then also, if you look at the other way around, so those that don't speak a foreign language, 50 of the 60 of them have less than 90 average, but only 15. And so that'd be a small portion of those that do well in math. So yeah, there you go. Hopefully that was useful. I'll explain more on this next one. I'm sorry. Apparently the video just stopped in the middle. Classmate conducted a survey, and you got favorite subject for 9th graders between math, English, and science. Screwed up things. Anyway, so you need to fill out the table based off your totals. Like right here, you can do 130 minus the 70, which will give you, let's see, hold on. Here I'm being lazy, just using a calculator to do everything. That'd be 60. If you do 150 minus the 60, you get 90. And you minus that 50, you'll get this number here. See, that's 40. And if you do 70 minus the 40, you'll get 30. And if you add these together, you'll get 115. And if you add along this row here, you'll get 165. And if you add along either your column or your row there, you'll get, let's see, 150 plus 165 gives you 315. Here, let me just check my work real quick. Okay, yeah, I got this. Okay. How many students were surveyed? Well, that's your grand total. It's just a 315. On all these joint relative frequencies, you're taking the number wherever it is and dividing by your grand total. And so, if you want joint relative frequency of girls math, it's 50. And you gotta divide by your grand total of 315, which is going to give you, let's see, 315, about 16%. I'm just going to have you guys around to a whole number there. Boys and English, that's right there, 30. So you gotta do 30 divided by the 315. Divided by 315. That's going to give you about 10%. Head around up on both of those. That are joint relative frequency for science and girls. Science and girls gives you the 60 there. So 60 divided by the 315. Let's see, 60 divided by 315. You can get about 19%. The next one, joint relative frequency for math and boys. I totally screwed that. No, okay. Yeah. Boys and math, 65 there. Gotta divide by the 315, the grand total. Let's see, 65 divided by 315. It's going to give you about 21%. And then the next one, you have marginal relative ones. On these ones, you're going to be using these marginal values and dividing those by the grand total. So marginal frequency of boys, you get the total number of boys and divide by your grand total. That total number is 165. Gotta divide by the 315 grand total. Let's see, 165 divided by 315 will give you 52%. Give you that guy there. That's a percent symbol. And then what's the marginal relative frequency for girls? Well, the girls is 150. You gotta divide by the 315. Let's see, 150 divided by 315 will give you about 48%. And that's good because those should add up to be all the people. Next section, marginal relative frequency for math. The math total is here at 115. You gotta divide by the grand total of 315. And you just compute those. And that's about 37%. And then relative frequency for English, that's the 70. So take 70, divide by 315. Let's see, 70 divided by 315. You get about 22. And then relative frequency for science, that's the 130. And you gotta divide by 315. the grand total. So 130 divided by 315 will give you about 42%. And then we have these bunch of conditional ones. On the conditional ones, you need to look at the given, and that gives you the total, the marginal that you're going to use. So we want given boy, what's the relative frequency of math? So it's basically what percent of those boys like math. So it's going to be the 65 divided by the 165 because it's 165 boys. So 65 divided by 165 gives you about 39%. And the next one, given girl, what's the conditional relative frequency of English? So out of all the girls, how many like English? That's the 40 out of 150 girls. So you take 40 divided by 150 girls, you'll get about 27%. And then given science, so out of all the science people, how many of them are boys? That's what that one's asking. So there's 130 that like science, and 70 of them are boys. So you do 70 divided by 130, you'll get a 54%. And then given math, what's the conditional relative frequency of girl? Well, it's basically all the girls that like math out of all the people that like math, which is 115, and then 50 of them are girls. So you gotta do 50 divided by 115, which should be 43%. And then given math, what percent of them are boys? So again, dividing by 115, because that's how many people that like math, and 65 of them were boys. So we do 65 divided by 115. You'll get about 57%. Alright, P. Our answers K and O are the same. So O is here and K is up here. Well, even though they're dealing with these same boxes, so the boys that like math, one's asking out of all the people that like math, what percent are boys? And then the other one's asking, out of all the boys, what percent like math? And those are different questions, so this one's no, and you can include that as your explanation, because they're asking different things. Like I said before. Anyway, Q, do the numbers suggest that gender and favorite subject are correlated? So, basically, is there a clear distinction between these for the percent? Like, if you're a girl, do you like some things more than others? And if you're a boy, do you like certain subjects more than other? Well, like looking at these is a pretty good good way to figure out things. For some of these, not really. So like the math and yeah, if you look at the math ones, those are fairly evenly distributed. And if you look at the English ones, those are fairly evenly distributed. And like the science ones, those are pretty evenly distributed. So like within the subject itself, I wouldn't say there's a real gender difference. But if you look at the distribution for the girls and the guys across the subjects, so like out of all the boys, there's a far less amount wanting that like English in comparison to math and science. And if you look at the girls, there's a fairly large difference between those that like English and those who like science. And so there'd be a slight, it's not slight, there is that gender and favorite subject are correlated, but it's not like super strong, meaning like all the girls like science or like all the boys like math or anything like that. So I'm going to stop the video there.